We'll say the prayer on page number 10. In English, on page number 11, I take refuge in the Guru, I take refuge in the Buddha, I take refuge in the Dharma, I take refuge in the Sangha. From now until my enlightenment, I take refuge in the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Sangha. And by the merit created in this practice, may I attain the state of Buddhahood for the benefit of all sentient beings. May all sentient beings enjoy happiness and its causes. May all sentient beings be free from suffering and its causes. May all sentient beings never be separated from joyfulness. May all sentient beings abide in equanimity, free of bias, attachment, and anger. This ground anointed with perfume, strewn with flowers, mountain encircled by the four continents, surmounted by the sun and the moon. I visualize this Buddha field and offer. May all living beings enjoy the pure land. Idam Guru Rana Medala Ameyadaya. All this.
이게 궁금해요.
Good.
good. 아니 저거를 정말 전에 다시들 시작당 아니 가장 아주 되게 초반에 말을
Good afternoon. Welcome to this afternoon's class.
다 가정 참대 다음에 소는면 티친데 초배노서 달라 정마지 디나 상동 공인 고진의 다들 돈을 이지 티지시 어디 somebody 다음에 소는면 티친데 단디 가르세나 가정아서 초밥 이야기 다 건조라니 소소 산지 상세나 초밥 이야기 단 매동제의 진이요 바다 만지나 바 강다요 바다 지테는 진이요 바 가정아주 몽보지 파송 용디 다도 가르스나 다베 마송 위쳐바스 다베 마송 위쳐바스 젠지 다다 마송 위 아니 제데 아니 초업표지 대송비와래 가르스나 다 가정아주 매동제의 진이요 바당 시에게 생계 다종 마지비 아니 다 매도당 나자당 다 무지당 어디 가려요이나 어디 소속이 매화기 당이야 아니고 부상한 중이요 레시 가정 디셔바나신 다 딘리기 생계 다종 마지비 저바디 푸구야기 진생가르에스나 다나 소나면데 티친데에 소마레 가레세나 다소소 마랑제이나 다지 지왕 뭐지라 소소기 아니지 소난디 요고지 사메지강라 아니 단다 상지 상세라 부야기니 지믹사와 티요 알아면도 스테인지 다나 소나면데 티친데에 오다 초배노자 달라 좀만치 데리게 초밥부야가 지진 어떨라장 야마데 데인디사니 데나지한통 벌스클라 공위하니 상제존단디 지지 도기 양도 가지고 있다 상제지 공판스나면도 아니 상제지 센스나면도 오다 디에는 소소기에는 질라지야기 치도 아랑기 다 다도 마송비 아니 초밥부야데 아니고 제로나스네 아니고 도스포레
Okay. And please go to your copy translation page 23. Actually 24, I'm sorry. And verse 7. Devoid of merit and destitute, I have nothing else to offer. Therefore, may the protector whose concerns are for the welfare of others accept this by their own power for my sake. So, as you may remember, in the previous Sunday class, we have talked about the benefits of offering, right? And then we discussed about the proper materials or the object of offering that one can take or can think of, can use to carry out this sacred ritual of offering making. So there are two forms of the object of offering that we talked about. So essentially, the first type of the object of offering is the object which you own it. Okay? You are entitled to present, to give away, or to make offering in this context to the Buddha, Bodhisattvas, and all enlightened beings. And so that could be something like you are affordable, you can purchase, right? Like flowers, food, and incense, right? Any form of the precious jewels, and or something that's considered to be pricey or has a greater value. So you can take it and to give it or offer to the Buddha and Bodhisattvas in your the merits. Now that's being owned, right? The object that you can, due to the previous the failure or the did not fail to practice dedicate yourself to the practice of offering a generosity in this lifetime, as the text says. So suppose you find yourself in a situation where it's devoid of merits and destitute, so you have nothing else to offer, meaning that you lack of money and you don't own any land or gardens, have no jewelries, and nothing you can really affordable and make it, take it, all right? As you are entitled to do so, then what you can do is that you can approach the second form of offering, the offering practice, right? That is, you can take it, the material that is not owned by anyone, not owned by anyone. So there could be something that like a wild flower and or the forest, the trees, and or something that's can be considered beautiful and appealing to you, and you find this very magnificent, and make you feel very delighted and so happy about it. And you find this is so wonderful, and then you can take it mentally, right? And with your faith, take those objects to give it and make an offering to the Buddha and the Bodhisattvas mentally. So this is the second form of the object of offering, which is not owned by or belong to anyone, and however you can take it mentally and use it. If you ask the question why in the author make such a reference, so you needed to take something that's mentally or use the trees and mountains or something that's beautiful and doesn't belong to entitled to anybody from a worldly legal standard point of view. Why you do so? And that is because you sort of admit yourself, and because the lack of because fail to dedicate yourself to accumulate the adequate merits in previous lifetime. So therefore, you find that yourself in this lifetime is really have owns nothing, and you've been a very materialistically very in a very poor condition. So you cannot really afford, you're not afforded to buy or purchase and then make it. So therefore, as a skillful means, here you use the mental, the power of the imagination, power of the faith, and then take the things which is belong to no one, and then offer to the Buddha and Bodhisattvas. So you need to make a request and tell the Buddha that the reason you do not, the Buddha's Bodhisattvas, or in other words, the object of your making an offering, a ritual, and confess that due to your poor conditions, lack of the capacity to do so, and with the real material goods, but it has to through the imagination, and tell the Buddha that please take it and accept the offering with the compassions and with the great compassions.
다트니 런거 림버 와스다 디엔체티기 다 다도마 송위 아니 초바푸야지 드니 런거 림버 와다 아니 디오라 이지적이 초바스 정도 다른 거 리데 바네 자와세지라 파 포스가 되는지 용기요래 제다한테 세나라 덕기는 덕걸리가 단다고 선바중나 당의 용지지 기회 조지 망서 처벌 당의 지지 용서 종외는 스나면지 신제 판바지 원지 들려야 당다지 정 두과세요 한점문지 도 송바들이 단 이게서 가르세나 수수장기 리츠전에 자와세지 둘라야 포선을 기어래 송면은 리다 덕거 리근 단더버지 야 아니 자와세지 지나봐 아니 고 산 가르세 산지 상세나지 덕거 린더니 지나바시게니 시로나 세게 데 somebody 기위 전선 가르스나 기위 추진 망스 처벌지 마랑기 리드니 자와세지 지도라 푸구야기 전선데 가르스나 마랑 네 자와세지 지랑수기 다지 첨방 지랑수고 고마 다 지랑수기네 마오도 직도나 지랑수고 진지바지네고 지천나 사이게네고 상로디기 인세 아니 기위 추진 망스 처벌지 다음에 치지용서 종외나 스나문지 신제판바지스 더 안에 상지상세 상지존의 제랑기에 다 도마차 제랑거 진지가 차네 안에 제랑라 제선 로지가 차나 안에 가리킹배에 와르스나 안에 마랑 안에 치지용서 종외나 상지존의 제랑기에 그 특지와지 지수 종저바이나 안에 그 스나문지 신제판바지스 용디 안에 그 고안的内容了你点的内容了 아니 고 가르스나 비넥 가티나 주바세지 요 말이에스 아니 고 스나만주 세용디 어디니 등어지 용거 말이에스 가르스나 소소르니 파 제조사지 당네 제대사지 이마이나 아니 제조사도 제된사 고랑 아니 주바던 전에 쪼지 예스 고랑 주바던 전에 쪼이나 아니 소소거 아니 제된 바이나 라니언 지바들 truth기요래 된디 상지준의 지바 탄제다 등의 탄제를 쪼지라 아니 상지마도 벌써 말 된디 상지 just 이위진산의 송디 라니 지바 탄제를 쪼 전지바를 쪼에 탈라키 갈라트지지라 니라메 바 중스네 아주난 지 송디 된디 아니 등의 탄제를 쪼에 상지라 아니고 오다 잡타들도 zon에 아니고 just zo로는 세지던 선남지 신제 판벌지 오다 제랑라 접수 송니 아니 제랑의 지선 장에 아니 전 신제신 탄자라요 지연의 판도버지 용을 소 세지도 원지들이 양도다지 장 되버지요 탄전문지도 송니 다 제랑의 지수 신세 아니 지와 통마메 반의 소비 소소의 링아비도 지나데 $10 소소기 아니 삼바 마롱와 산로 마롱와 다 로차 시동 컨트롤 맞제 다 된리기 Salo Marong Linga and go Linga Bakari, Chichiba, or to Samaya, and it so tat gray, and it Maum Bala so depa Zayan, and it go Jiwan Chira Tamchet Machil Hamayanare, and it go Jiwan Chira Tamchet the Tindi Zala Noche and it go to Nigi Dubility, Sawin and it go machines and so Tamchet Chid, and I'm Lilson Journey, Sanjay Jawas Jiang and it go. To sorry.
Verse 8, I completely offer my entire self to the genus and their children. O supreme beings, accept me. I reverently devote myself to your service. Being free from fear of mundane existence, due to your protection, I shall serve sentient beings. I shall completely transcend my earlier. I should completely transcend my earlier vices and henceforth I shall sin no more. In swiftly fragmented, this verse 9 and 8, 9. Okay. So, so far we have discussed about as means of as the object of the offering and then the yes, the forms of object that you are offering, right? And the offer to the Buddhas and Bodhisattvas. In these two verses, verse 8 and 9, and you can see that the author, and of course, it's the model, right? The mentor of this, the Bodhisattva's practice in this particular practice, right? And the author illustrates that the ideal practitioner, right? What he or she can do to accomplish or successfully practice this the spiritual practice of offering. Right? You're not only offering, make offerings the material good that you are affordable, and also the materials or objects that you are not entitled to legally to claim, but you can mentally take it and through the imagination and offer it. But in this case here, the author illustrated reveal another technique way for us to adopt in our own practice. That is to take our body as the object of offering, the offer to the Buddhas and all the Bodhisattvas. So the way you make it, you take your body, make offering, has to be complete, as text suggested, entirely, right? Entirely, offer to the Buddha Bodhisattva, not temporarily, but also forever. This take a body entirely and offer to the Buddhas and Bodhisattvas of 3 times 10 directions entirely and permanently or forever, and it has to have a purpose for it, right? You aim to, you're doing so because you have the aim. So or you got a reason to do so, right? You got a reason is because you want to attend the enlightenment, right? and so you want this. You understand your circumstances, and you know that you need assistance. You need a guide, someone's guidance, and help you to achieve your the highest, the spiritual goal, that is enlightenment, right? So take your body as object of offering and offer to the Buddhas of 3 times interaction entirely and forever. And in the sense that here what you do is that you are basically expressing that, or you are you tell the object of the offering, offering making. That is Buddha Bodhisattva, say that please take me, like the students, like the follower, and like your servant, right? And please bring me under your the wings of your compassion and the protection, under your protections. I'm turning in. You're basically saying that I'm turning in my entire self, right, and to you. And want you take me under your protection. So the under your protection means that temporarily, of course, it's and it's about the spiritual as a spiritual means, accumulating the enhance the bond and of the relationship and that you set up between you and the Buddhas and Bodhisattvas, right? And also practically under the protection of Buddha Bodhisattva, you know that all that you are rejecting, all that you do not want, namely the sufferings, and the fears, right, and the worries, and all this, and the unsatisfaction, anything that you don't like it. So under the protection of the Buddha, when you are turning in yourself into the Buddha's Bodhisattvas, right, and under the protection of them, and you yourself will not, don't have to experiencing those fears and sufferings. It's just like in a worldly situation, if you find yourself is weak, powerless, right, and or lack of strength to do certain thing, and then you turn in yourself and by make some kind of a special like an ally, and choose powerful ones or powerful entity, someone who is more forceful and more powerful, and then be the part of it, or asking for their protection and help. And because you recognize that the other entity, or such as the institution or the group or the individual, or is more powerful, and then you turn in yourself asking for the protection, then we know that from our experience, and from that moment onwards, right, and you will be protected, and you will be free from the possible sufferings and the fears. So similarly, here we are in the situation which is samsara. We are in we find ourselves in the situation of the samsaric reality, and that we have to experience all the sufferings, and then we find ourselves is powerless, right? And so that's we don't have adequate power to protect ourselves. So therefore, the wise way is to seeking the protection from Buddha and Bodhisattvas. So that's the temporary benefits. The ultimate benefits is that by seeking or turning in yourself to the Buddha's Bodhisattvas, you will end up find yourself in the great the enlightened state of Dhammadhatu, or the state of realization, and where you are absolutely and free, because you see the sphere of reality, or the ultimate. You are permanently free from the sufferings and fears. So therefore, this is the benefits of turning yourself to the Buddha's Bodhisattvas and entirely and permanently. And also at the same time, so you are not turning yourself for yes, you recognize about the Buddha is that so by turning yourself, Buddha would teach you the skillful means, right? Would give you the wisdom and bless you and provide all the spiritual guidance, right? Whereby you can eventually, through the assistance and this guidance, protections of the Buddha's wisdom, you will become a very skillful one. And you will ultimately become the ultimate refugees of others. So that is another in the turning yourself entirely and permanently, and is not for the selfish reason, and but rather is for the as a skillful means for the benefits of as a practical reason. For the benefits of all sentient beings. So the bottom line is turn yourself entirely and permanently to the Buddha Bodhisattva. You will purify your the negative karmas that you accumulated in the, before, and so you also at the same time by recognize the harmfulness of or the harmful nature of the negative karma and that you accumulated. And you will determined and make it, you will determined and resolute that you're not going to do the same, make it the same negative karma in the future.
That was
这个大家的去年那么就送了，去年来去年那么就送了，这送了把送了不？讲不讲是送一个的，大概是那么多的，路面当就挂的这嘛是，去年当就去年那么都是你过送了过嘛？
哦，这里没是怎么写头？
哦，呀，那个去干的我呢，他说。
呀，当时离培养些的，当时记得，上级当上次送到的做了所的离就把培养些的，但设备机测标的，对你啥呢？所让你了准备呢，那离些的在七十当，那离些的所了行车有啊，所了行呀，我的几个的个是呢离车多的，离的那上级了普国呀的打电话说刚才下班那是上级我说定个他到了就的个些的，我地震生的所让你定个来做了，那定个腾起来做接起来定过去，当我说刚才下班那些都是的。但离的特外呢，那离的普通个人是呢，所给类没法当的。刚才我说但类没法进的，那个就让了普人些个呢，上路当，那上路跟哪路嘞没法进的，一级也普是个定的进。第一级吧呢，那上级了就让个离普人那样。你过嘛是呢？过嘛是吧？上级让我说个离的过要嘛的，我说个离不要的个离当我说当卡着的怕呢，上级老了下了主要的这要嘛的，谁的呢？让你了刚要把个呢，那不这其实的离的你啥呢？离的也不要的个，那说让你个呢，但是呢呗，这全部是个要当。 사벌도 때라 가리지 월스나 리 난징 와서 아 시야기 소소 전이 치고 자침보 지야기 아 시야디 탄년도 사다 아세 현차치 사유 시 뭐지 소소 펑보디 리디 척게 와 딘지기 아세 현차치 사유 시 펑보디 파네 선지를 부긴 세나 아니 소소가 아세 그 상도돼 돼서 식총하라 식총을 줘야나요 아니 판통이 저지용 그래서
So at this point, you might wondering, how and why I need to offer my own body, right? And so what is there really thing is going on? You might wonder about that, because this practice may put you under the impression that you're using your body as the object of offering, which indeed is the case. So, and previously we take the flowers, right, precious, anything that's considered the precious, and has good value, right? And then we also take the things that they can only can be used through the imagination. But here, practically and or physically, you're going to take your body and to use it as objects offering. So you probably wanted to know why this is the case. Well, essentially, we all know that we're experiencing that throughout the life, there are so many things which we always consider is very important and very dear to us, right? And very we take it seriously and we consider it very precious. Among all kinds of precious things, valuable and objects, in fact, when you really count down all of them, you will find that the most precious thing that you ever consider as valuable, important to you, is your own body. Okay? So, however, in this case, even if it is the most important thing you have, you own it, that's your body, you need to take it and use as objects of offering and offer to the Buddhas, Bodhisattvas. Indeed, if you narrow down or kind of narrowly, very narrowly speaking, so if you truly want to claim the ownership, right, of something or over something, you will find interesting enough, probably your body is the only thing that you own it, right? So if you realize that ultimately the body is the most precious thing and is the only thing you kind of, to some extent, you really own it. So therefore it is the good thing and or the most effective, powerful thing for you to take the body and use it as an object of offering and offer to the Buddhas and Bodhisattvas. As we discussed earlier, this very offering you making has a purpose, right? Has a reason and got a purpose. That is, you want to free yourself from the entire suffering, the sufferings throughout the samsara, right? Entire samsara, and you want to free from it. But the way to do this, to achieve this goal of liberate yourself, right? Free yourself from samsara, and then you need to take the specific path, or in other words, engage in in a series of practice. So among all the practices, one practice is the make an offering as the means to seeking actions. Right? When you make an offering, proper way to make an offering. In this case, like we said, the text suggests you make an offering in entire body, right, and permanently to the Buddha's Bodhisattvas. But the proper way to make it, take your body as the object of offering and offer to Bodhisattvas is not something that you physically turn in, like you separate yourself, from the body, like and you make the body thing, and then you kind of stay away from, and then take it. It's not suggested such a way. The way we make the offering to Buddha Bodhisattva your body, the proper way is rather instead of done through the physical action and or as a physical activity, rather is a mental exercise. Okay, which means that in your mind you get the sense of your body, right? Existence of the body and the ownership of your body, and then sincerely and deeply from the bottom of your heart and take it, since you know that it is available and you want it and you are entitled to do whatever you want. So therefore, in this case, so you take it and this body, which you own it, but not like a separate entity, right? But rather is mentally you give to Buddha and Bodhisattvas. Okay, so you're giving, right? So you're willing to give, but the question is whether the Buddhas, Bodhisattvas, they need your body. The answer is not, right? Buddhas and Bodhisattvas do not need your body, right? However, it is for your own benefits, right? Because when you make an offering to the Buddhas, Bodhisattvas, you are you're cut through or cut off the clingings, the cravings to your body you used to have to your body. So take it and offer to Buddha this ritualistic mental spiritual exercise will help you to minimize the attachment to your body, right? You're increasing your dedication and your devotion, right? In fact, so when you make this offering, right, and you are not, through this mental exercise, and you accumulate a great amount of the merits. Right? So, in general, if you're not doing so, and you know that our general situation is that we always claim I. Right? When you say I and mine, you are referred to those five skandhas, right? Or five aggregates: the form, the feelings, perceptions, mental formations, and the volitions, and the consciousness. So you refer to them as you, and now, and because you are mistaken with the true nature of a true status of the existence of yourself, and so you develop lots of attachment. You have or you hold yourself as I, and with these five aggregates, right? Now you take them and offer to the Buddhas, Bodhisattvas, and So this use of I is no longer is a kind of worldly or is mundane, right? But rather it's become something spiritually very meaningful and become a very beneficial activity. Or benefit the action, the very action you take it your body, which essentially is the constitute of 5 aggregates. Now it's become something that has a greater spiritual meanings. That's all.
다다네 가르스나 취지 공화 순도 주셔봐 시지 사지사상 세워 런진바비 가와 용어든 메토고자 라데 제워 디자사란티 세나나 런진 범범 비지 용어로 공화로 donne 로모지오 때문에 그지소 송바데레 단디 가레스나 아주 로이 주의 초바세용리 단 로그 파네 딘디지 주네 가레스용리 희지 취지 강화 신도 뜻什么용리 다 상지 상지 sem바도라 가레스나 디 그즈라 네 셔치치 뭐 치치야게 컨상 이동와 딘디야라 아주 상지라 로기 소소가 로그 파 전에 로그 지네 아니야 푸부요레스나 가스나데 데이터베 취지 강화데 나라다 지 비심보게 점아줘라서 이 뜻심보도 아니 사디 희지 사지 더 희거랑 진짜 디 온추기와 딘디지 아니 가와즈 르모지기 다짐모도 다딘지라서 거기 가마르라서 딘디기 가와이 동와요바 메테오 차라리 지와데세다 컴바유 강상게 토즈 가르스나 디 메테그 오단데 딘디기 라리 오다딘디 파 요한로 텐종 딘디기 강상 예동와 딘디 소소그 메와 로그단에 파 딘디즈 딘디 존에 아니 상지기 가르스나 그즈라니고 취지야 지도 아주 미팅이나 다지 스포츠야 어디리에네 세치지야다 상지 그치시야고 어다 딘디지야 치티야라 부여지 드니 딜라카스나 치강 포와스키바레 단디 치소와데 이전서다디 시나라 런치 범범몽 비지지 영어로 공원로 던 로모지와 때문에 그치소 세운데 단은 정아서 치수지기로고 어데 대원데다 이전서바다 이 시자와스티지도 네다 르모지 세당을 하고 pomba기나라니고 수다 비스모도 다 주마스모찬들이 이기치 어다들이 바니 치소지 상지 그즈라니 소소그 바니 치소지기요 삼바기 상지 클라세트지기요 삼바기 어디리게 상로다 이 로그 메와가 당데 파니 지기요 삼비 네 디냠도 소소다 상지거지 도바 기 도바이나레 송고 도바이나레 상 도바들이야니 과양라죠 어디리야니 주로라서다 로모들이죠 어디니 진의 상지 그즈라 세트지야 된디제 다디 소소야 초소비 야라라 된디 용기와데 단디 니 용고야 뜻가르스나 다 존지리 니와디 가서 조팅아서 야라던 바고군에네 초바푼의 초소야가 된디 송기와데 된디 디가 온텔라 다지 그치소야다 아니고 치지 강바푸야다도 원체 된디 요사래 보고 기억이 손전에 들리도 엄마 자갈라 당원체 아니 저우도 가르스나 미상라 페온디사네 다고 지라푸야 당 아니 주바푸야 된디 갑텔라 홍라 아니 자올라 가르스나고 그즈 지야기 아니 치자지지 어딘디 고안이 지 다스 보통 로파 지야기 제라스고 자지지 어딘디 지구사래 다디 가르스나 원체 자와디 차와롱바 인지강라 아니 차와디 모저야 기치다 랑칸의 표현나 차와디 말 메어줘야 기치다 딘디기 아니지 치소야 그 루스딘이 요래서 다 딘지기 디가서 치유소네요. 아니 상지라요. 고 딘지 부야기 나서디 다와레스야 네 딘지 성지진도
Now, the verse 9, being free from a fear of mundane existence, and due to your protection, I shall serve sentient being. I shall completely consent to my, well, I didn't read this actually. Yeah, earlier vices, and henceforth I shall sin no more. I sweetly fragrant bathing chambers, whose beautiful pillars are radiant with the jewels, glowing canopies made of pearls and crystal flowers, transparent and sparkling. I bathe the Tathagatas and their children with the many vases studded with superb jewels and filled with pleasing fragrant flowers and water to the accompaniment of sounds and instrumental music. I dry their bodies with scented, immaculate, exquisite clothes. Then I offer them beautifully colored and sweetly fragrant garments. So now we are continued to learning the special ways to accumulating our merit or to increasing the merits that we need to collecting. So as a means to achieve this goal of the accomplishment of the collection of merits, and we do need we have learned that there are ways we can physically and personally purchase the items, the things with our whatever we can afford, affordable, right? And so in the case that we cannot do it, then we can use the other skillful means that is mentally taken and then offer to the Bodhisattvas. Here in these two verses, as we can tell that the technique is still shows us how to continue our offering practice, right, mentally, or do this practice of offering to Bodhisattvas, not physically, but as a mental, spiritual exercise. Here we have a very specific practice, or the author illustrated a very specific sort of the sequential, right, the practice of the offerings that you can down mentally. So this is how what the text says. First of all, we imagine a beautiful mansion or celestial, let's say, abbot, or some kind of magnificent the celestial constructions, right? and we mentally create it, and then we imagine that the way which build the materials, the building blocks of or the materials of this celestial, wonderful, magnificent mansion is involved all kinds of precious stone, as the text described about the pillar, the like crystals and all kinds of precious stones in the material. So you build that the magnificent looking the palace or the mansion mentally, and then you invite Buddhas and Bodhisattvas, Buddha with his retinue, in this case all the Bodhisattvas, and coming to this the great mansion or the palace. And again, this palace has been decorated with the flowers, right, and the beautiful gardens and the things, that's so appealing and so wonderful. So up onto that, then you invite the Buddhas and the Bodhisattvas come in, and then you invite them to the inside the mansion, and then begin offer them the request them or offer the bath, taking the bath, and then the request the Buddhas, Bodhisattvas, the Tathagatas to take a bath, and where the water of the bath is being produced by all kinds of very precious the stuffs, and that such as like the sandalwood and the most delicious of wonderful fragrance and incense and the things and which are considered to be so special. So you mentally thinking that now you're offering this bath to the Buddhas, Bodhisattvas with the water and produced in a very special and particular way, and with all kinds of the most precious things. And alone, so this bath process, the ritual is accompanied by the rituals involved with the music and other special rituals. And this is a part of the practice of what we call the 7 limbs of the practice, this ritual. And so again, it's aimed to help the individual practitioners such as us to attend or obtain the great perfections of the collection of merits. Again, we do this here in the mentally, right? This is practice, in fact, according to some literature, and is a historical, cultural, sort of related to the history and the ancient history of India and the cultures that's been practiced by Indians in the ancient time. So according to the literature, and India, we know that, generally speaking, is very hot, right? So when you invite a guest, such as a king, right, or emperor, and to your house or to your mansion, and you need the first thing is after greeting them, you need first thing is you invite them to the bath, the house where you can, or the chamber where the bathtub or the baths can be taken. So then, as an old tradition, the king or queen or whoever, the VIPs that you invited in ancient time India, and so you offer the most the bath that is made of the most precious stones and material, and along with the decorations and decorated by the flowers and then enhanced by the wonderful smells, right? And then probably and music and so on and so forth. Of course, you're going to offer the best quality of the water, or the water that produced by the very special things that all been sort of the quality of the water is being enhanced by all the precious materials. And similarly, so that's why we know that the emperor, the queen of the most important individual, the VIPs, will be very pleased, right? And so similarly here, we adopted this ancient Indian cultural heritage or cultural practice, and in our spiritual in our spiritual exercise, and through our devotion and in mentally by doing so, and we as a practitioner, and we can enhance the bond between us and the Tathagatas and Bodhisattvas, and whereby and we can also obtain and increasing the greater merits that we aim to achieve. Also,
다들 먼저 지금 컴바디 컨산티 포지트니 다 취소위치 근데 대다가라 총화매백이 장라 저기에 그죠 다 되게 걸스나 대다가라 총화매백이 다 대다 상지의 선수바 저기 그슬라 그래서나 총바매백이 다 기상마 이동와 근데 주심부시바 오더 디리게네 기살란잠바 디리게 아니 상지기 그라 취소지위지라 아니 상지 그즈들라네 저 시다다야게 어디게 매워지고 그래지고 데 그래서 데네텔라 카도로지위 나자 근도 주선 담바메 기존살라 잠바나 조당 형디 나자 우여 타고 그즈티바네 시다다 아니 데네티디게라 그래서나 다 카도 이동베 나자 아니 주스모다 담바 아니 기 사모임바 잠바임바 오다디게 기가리 푸게나 오다디게 난사 푸야다 오다 르바디게 시타게 데네타 컨타요 소소 다 치소 지비 갑텔라 다 난징아수디 다도알라 치소 지기 와데다 그조 가시기다 통요이데 이나다 아니 소소 듬도알라 다지 상다 지기 노이나레 고다 가리고 노가이나 그래고 노가 참아지지 아니 디노노라 아니 치뇽뇽치루 아니 데라타 소소 지 범바도 지기 파네 다 상지기 그즈 미스텔라 시오냐메 메와지네 아니 데 칸상 이동와지 로그좀 디나라 시오냐메 메와지데 다니 소소고다 데라네 스데 조선다네 치소지 다니 와주 난제 카당도 오질라스네 오마마 장르시지 난장아선 동기와도 다 소소 기상마지 요이나 어딘디게 아니지 시다당이 와서로지 다네 야네고 나자푸이오가 아니고 딘디 메와지 오다 딘디 진이 푸야티 당마마니 딘디 자갈라 딘디 정아임바리 저나 자갈기 다 상지 전단데 실식데 갑데라 아주 저우다 딴네 직딩도 미치 당단에 와서 그 로야만 붙이 시그널을 따라 용되는도 치그 당아서 기츠롱게 층거고리나요 자가 그 디가 그 저 청그 예와 지양라 때네 대당 안고 년바지 대당 저저지 소요와 다 대나신 also 초밥 부위什么的呀那就做了인크지 여기那什么路进的那个用给我的我买给等等还是자가 그 예수等等的어떻게 좀 그냥用给我的
So, and yes, now a little bit a more specific, a little detail in terms of this to complete it, this offering of imagined offering making and the ritual. So you are essentially you created this mandala looking or liking or dimensions, right? Or the palace and like the magnificent building, and then you invited the Buddhas, the Bodhisattvas into it, and then you take them to as an Indian ancient Indian custom, and take them to the bath chamber where they can take a bath and then redress themselves, right? And so and similarly here, and so the way you do is that after the taking the like we talked about this how this mansion is looking like, right? And what the building materials are, and what is being produced, right? And involved with what kind of stuff and the elements, the material thing. So this now is this detail, and here we need to talk about is like the text says, and in your mental the ritualistic exercise. So imagine that you are drying their body, the Tathagatas, right, and the Bodhisattva's body with the scented, right, immaculate and exquisite clothes. That's very expensive, beautiful. The clothes is not just looking and a great looking so special, but and the touching of this, the feelings of the body, this cloth when you offer to the Tathagatas and Bodhisattvas also is very smooth and very comforting or very beautiful. So you offer all of them, and and again, this cloth is also very well colored or made and even decorated with the fragrant and the yes, this is a beautiful smells and so on and so forth. So the cloth next is you make the cloth and with the is a special way, and so yes, it is like in the general we know that the clothes you give to your guest and then has to be right good quality, especially a special guest has to be special quality and clean, right, and beautiful looking and higher qualities and so on and so forth, right. So now yes, so that's how you invite the Tathagata Gaba and Tathagata and with the all the Bodhisattvas and come into and the taking to appreciate your hospitality and in a ritualistic way and so in your practice. So this is the Yes, so in our practice, right, and generally here in the temple, so the way we make it is the ablution and or the bath taking ritual. So the vest you use has to be clean, right? And then the water and also has to be carefully the choosing, and then so you have the Buddha's statue, right, and in front of you, and then you recite in the mantra, right, and the pouring the water over the Buddha's body, right, and that's the symbolize that you are the receiving the Buddha and treat Buddha and with the way like the ministers or the others who treated their emperor or the kings in ancient India. So then the part of the ritual, of course, we will say the mantra, and the mantra basically symbolizes, then you kind of clean up and the body of the dry the bodies of your guests. In this case, in your ritualistic practice is the Buddha himself. So that's what we do in our daily ritualistic practice. And in fact, this is just side kind of story, and you might find this is very similar to what the Indians doing in the ancient time, and like we talked about before. And not only this ritual, in fact, if you look in this kind of practice from a cultural historical point of view, so many the Buddhist monks' vows, precepts, right? Either you are summary vow or the fully ordained bhikkhus vow, and they are to great extent is adopted the ancient the original or the kings of India according to the each states and of the India, and then the top of that, then there are in addition to what the kings and or the kingdom, the king have the king or the emperor has the rules and the laws, and they made it, and the monks and the vows of the monk they have to taking is kind of a copied, resembled. On the top of that, then they have those spiritual, more detailed vows. So yes, the answer is there are many cases. The ritualistic practice of the aspect of the Buddhist practice is indeed kind of a copy of the ancient Indian culture and exercise.
私どもでね、だってね、だ剛才第二个是这个当的所属的就da shoki ane chanamba suga na la yang ji choban de pune ane go de ji gi na ane choba puya da nyam da ne so so jonji liu ni wan de ne kamara sarchi de choyo na ji ane go don choba pune ane de ji to na yo yo de ne da ga zang ma zu ru cha ju ga ne jonji liu dang bo de sang ji sing de pan yong de go de ma sarchi don ne sang lo de sta de gang la de ka zang zu jin ji mang de gu ne ne de sang ba nyang ji o de de ne go lo jang tang ge ba de zo sang lo de de tang na o de yo yo je le sang do de ne da gang de so ba pu se de da so 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 ba pu ka de la so bi ji de so so la ne 인지민이 그들라지 로소동군의 그 동도들이 좀 말해 저다고 초비지 망보지 니네 여러지 푸고야 당 어더니지 로소동고의 그 들이 그 나던지 말해 저버세디 소데 소수견에 낭 근홍 매박 땅의 예라니 지 자칠 땅보야디 같이 뭐래 별이나 지랑기 선도지당 다이나 매도지로 어더니 지마도 표현해나요 어느 드리지 푸이 갑들라 소소 산로까지 당고르스나 매도 쥐데 매도 저차 동쪽 파뭐 좀 로고 매와지 매도 망보지 푸이와 그 아니고 산로지 당이 푸이나 진리게 매도 망보 푸야게 파용된 종류와 다른 지금 정을 산도지 푸기나요 산도 쥐데 쥐기면 심마송어 산도 하정 망보파 푸이와 그 시송되나 어딘데 산도 망보 푸야게 파연데 다다다도 정비와 땡다서 처바세야 돼요. 아주 시내부 부활을 맞대요. 쪼대 난그 생기다네 바네 부이 지자 첨부게 매워지네 부고야 되게 정부를 생도 되게 처바 부야 되라 하정 그 파연 첨부래 뭐 자갈라네 키워 첨부지 거래 당에 그 공가에서는 춘소윤 있어네 하정 걸 봐도 어떤지 즉각게论무슨 바그 되게 뭐지 다고 nen진 거네 바란스야 네고 야게 되고 다 바조 지금 로야 다들이 지내고 바란스 오지네 되지네 페와네 다 페비 람카토라네 지슨 로마기 그지요래 산들라네 지슨 로마기 다 그지 람카토치래 요르세 다고 니마리 지지라 루지간라네 telane metokang chi phuare se kurang metokang chi telane jitramala phui so atene tenijine ane ko metse matela da jupa be long do jupa be halio yo cha atene ko ba jano lo ba kato bi kyo chimbu cha go odini loji yo re jupa phuya telane tenigya so na ja chimbu yo re se
So let me say something and to make it our daily practice and the text we just read and we discussed it and more relevant to our daily practice. Essentially, we know that the text, what the text say is to help us. Advise us how to increase in our merits, right? And or create the kind of supportive conditions for our present and future well-being, and whereby we can have a very successful and make our rest of the spiritual practice very successful. So anyway, and here's the thing: based on what we have seen, we have talked about today. And so from now on, suppose like tomorrow morning, and when you wake up, right? Do you have time in the if you have time, and then you're going to make as the text suggested, you should make an offering, right? And so the offering you make and can be anything. It doesn't need really fancy and more expensive. Indeed, it's not really about the qualities or the prices of the values of material. Rather, is the motivation of that very action of offering that you're taking. So therefore, don't bother and worry too much about the material aspects of this practice. Rather is examine and make sure you have the pure heart and the pure motivation, right? So once you display the whatever you have, or you can take and use as the object of the offering to the Buddhas and Bodhisattvas, then you probably, I suggest, read this second chapter, right? And from the beginning and once, because here it teaches you and it shows you the detailed the steps of the offering, and also the reasons and the benefits, the purpose of the offering making. So it would be a very good thing for you to do. And in fact, if you have more time, and like we have talked about in the first chapter, and it's about the benefits of the spirits of awakening. Maybe you go back and read the first chapter and slowly, which is a kind of quick reflection, right? If you will, and read through from beginning to end the first chapter, and so kind of reinforce your understanding, your appreciation of the benefits of the spirits of awakening, right? So then you can sit down, right? To begin and your practice of meditation, and the meditation of the development of the genuine bodhicitta, the spirits of awakening, the mind of enlightenment. So the way you can do, one way, of course, you can do is by you can go through those 7 steps of the quintessential instructions of cause effect. So meaning like begin to think about all sentient being, and knowing they has been your mother, or see them as mother, and then knowing their kindness, and think about how to repair their kindness and develop the strong sense of closeness. Then develop the metta, or the kindness, and then compassion, and then altruistic attitude, and then the bodhicitta. So that's how you can lead yourself, and by the start with the self, set up the altar, and then recite in the second chapter, and then go back, look and read the first chapter, and think about the bodhicitta, the benefits of bodhicitta, and then sit down in the formal meditation, and go through each steps of the 7 instructions of cause and effect, and then develop a bodhicitta. So anyway, the most important thing is, again, is not about the practice of the material you're going to use to make it a ritualistic offering, but rather you must think about the skillful, how you can do it skillfully and with the pure motivation, right? And pure motivation is the benefits for the sake of benefits for others, right? And skillful means is like this. For instance, in general, you have just one piece of flour, right? That's the only thing available. But when you make an offering, not just that yourself is restrained to this one object, right? And which is one piece of flour, but rather, although you physically have one flower or some kind of plants, right, trees, but as soon as you start to make the process of your making is as offered to the Buddhas Bodhisattvas, you must think that it's not a one flower or one tree, but rather it's kind of multiplies, right? It's growing into the 100 and 1,000 and millions flowers, and or the plants of the trees, and or the great the objects is the number is increasing, and it become limitlessly, something that's limitlessly, and then offered to the Buddhas Bodhisattvas. And this way, so you are basically expanding, and you are not only opening, but you are expanding your mind, and your understanding of the qualities of and the of this offering by multiply and make it more into the Buddhas and Bodhisattvas. So yes, so the point is it has to be really open and expanded, and try to reach it to make it limitlessly. So let me close this and by share a story with you. and the importance of or the benefits of make offering to the Buddha's Bodhisattvas. And according to one account, in back to ancient India, there was a great scholar. In his the earlier part of his life, and he's very slow. He can't articulate well, and he can't understand the difficult the concepts. He's really having trouble to memorize the text, and so on and so forth. In other words, he has been very challenged in his early age. And as a matter of fact, he was the cowboy, and but the thing is, while he was a cowboy and on his way from home to the place where he can release the cows and the bulls, and he often always passed by a statue of Tara, and whenever he see the Tara, and he just pick up a wild piece of flowers or anything that he offered to the image of the Buddha and the Tara, and he do that on a regular basis. So frequently, always he consistently doing that. Then over the many years of such a practice, and then he was able to accumulate a great deal of merits. And consequently, and in his later part of his life, and he became very sharp, and his retention of the text is greatly increased, and he can articulate very well, and he can speak very eloquently, and so. And then, according to the account, so it is believed that this happens to this individual, and in such a dramatic way, is because the dedication of the make offering and to the Tara on the regular basis.
존재 제목라네 더 도난진의 중앙제들라네 양토관의 거우서 아니 거든지 아니 다 어조양 디 달라 소소 제 카소 마청원로 데 정보이나 어조 아니 대지까지 되는 어조 다 전선한 말에 주 지dan 시가선스.
So let me just say this much for today's class, and once again, and I feel really in this very moment, and I feel a great joy by observing and seeing you here with me, and to be part of this great the text, the guide to the Bodhisattva's way of life, and the Bodhicitta Vitara. And I'm very grateful, and thank you very much for taking this class. And I really mean it. Okay. But now I think we are almost like at the 1:30 or something. And so how about this? If you find today's discussion somewhere is not clear, and or you have any questions, please ask, and otherwise let's close the class.
之将佛
把
报
我觉得心波动，
功
更
德
多颂钵的样的是的，一道根基就所当佛教，给我得到当知的德目，对生小别叫我当知己，我康乐修得我光。大概级别早晚的工作，从不就接着的我儿子，当地就没担保的中介，但是结果当街更刚走，历经用了的钱就别的，上街担保道德解决。这个跟的叫我总个别，当初些年我生在别的，这边我为了上的年龄，感觉这样的我嘛就。Thank you. 对不起。